Yesterday, we discussed about the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, what next for the Biafra struggle. Today, we are taking it further to discuss the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu and securing East in the Southeast region. It is no longer news that Nnamdi Kanu was arrested last week and is now being detained by the federal government of Nigeria. Some people are therefore asking, what will his arrest portend for the Southeast region, especially with regards to peace and security in the region? Our guests to discuss that topic today, we have Ms. Ankkio Briggs. Ms. Briggs, you are welcome to our program tonight. She is muted.
Thank you for having me.
Right. We also have Dr. Sam Amadi. Dr. Amadi, you are welcome to our program tonight.
Thank you very much.
Also, we have, but by no means the least, Dr. Law Mefor. Dr. Mefor, you are welcome to our program tonight. You can unmute yourself, please. Dr. Mefor, you can unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't do that earlier. Thank you for hosting me. I apologize profusely for not joining yesterday. I got it mixed up.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you.
We are here to, you are here today, and that is the important thing. Ms. Briggs, let us start from you tonight.
Okay.
Okay, let's first ask, how do you feel about when you had the news that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu had been arrested? Did you entertain any fears, or how did you feel about it?
Well, just the same way I think I felt the first time he was arrested. At that time, I had not met him, and I didn't know him, and I didn't know too much about him. But this time round, my first reaction was how. That was my first reaction. How? Because I know they can't bring him in. They couldn't have brought him in by applying for extradition from the United Kingdom. My other reaction was, if that is the case, how did they get to arrest him? Where did they arrest him? The where became an issue for me. But then when I remember that that was how my brother, Henry Oka, was kidnapped in Angola under President Obasanjo at that time. Henry Oka, who is now in prison in South Africa, under the persecution of the Nigerian government and the South African government. I remember that he was kidnapped in Angola in the middle of the night, flown into Nigeria and taken to, was it one of the prisons in Jos or somewhere like that, until we were able to negotiate his release when Yar'Adua became the president. So when I thought about that, it began to dawn on me that probably that was what happened to Nnamdi Kanu. And then I thought perhaps it was done illegally. And if it was done illegally, how does Nigeria go from, what's his name, Umaru Diko to Henry Oka and now to Nnamdi Kanu? There has to be something wrong with the governance of this country where they will disobey international laws and run around like rogue criminals and be kidnapping people all over, their own citizens all over the place. It's a shame.
We thank you. Dr. Sam Amadi, you are a lawyer. Does it matter how Nnamdi Kanu was brought into Nigeria, provided that he's a fugitive from justice and therefore he should be in Nigeria to answer to the Nigeria criminal justice system for any alleged crime he may have committed?
Well, it matters in some few significant ways. First, ideally, the court would take cognizance that he has a pending case. In this case, a little bit different, that the state makes it a continuation of the trial. If they're going to arrange it differently, how it comes to jurisdiction does not affect the trial itself, but it may raise ancillary issues. For example, his lawyers could sue or raise petitions in international law. What they call interdiction is actually a criminal practice and raises issues that may lead to maybe other interventions beyond the Nigerian court. So it might argue in terms of evidence law and criminal law that when people are brought before trial, the judges do not get carried away by how they came to trial. Sometimes they are arrested illegally. But if you look at the Miranda provisions in the US criminal law, how you got into jurisdiction can affect the quality of the admissibility of evidence. So if, for example, part of the evidence they're going to use confessional evidence, and they were obtained in the manner people suspected, which is that he was illegally arrested in terms of protocol, but again, maybe tortured, maybe put in conditions that are namely drugging to go to the cargo or howsoever brought to Nigeria. That will affect the quality of that evidence, especially during the trial itself. But you can say straightforward that the judge, or whoever in Nigeria, may not be overburdened about the breach of international law and international diplomatic courtesies that countries extend to themselves. Being a British citizen ought to have been properly extradited, but of course the home government ought to be aware that a citizen is wanted for alleged crime. So technically speaking, the fact that you are brought, cargoed, or anyhow brought before the court may not stop that trial, but depending on circumstances, it might lead to other suits against that trial and may also taint the evidence that the court might present. And some judges also may color their view about the desperation and, of course, the underlying criminality of the state and may influence how they view the evidence in trial.
All right, we thank you. Dr. Mefor, you are the leader of Igbo organization and the frontline Igbo activist, let me put it this way, and an Igbo leader as well. Does the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu have effect on Igbo politics? Let me put it this way.
Yeah, thank you again for hosting me. Thank you, the watchers and the participants. I think many of us are still in a state of shock, I must say. I believe that the Igbo nation is really worried. They should be worried. If you look at it, the political leadership of the Igbo nation hasn't said anything. The cultural institution, the apex body, Ohaneze, led by Professor George Obiozo, has not really made a statement. What I read from them was a refutal that what was credited to them earlier wasn't exactly from them. That is not the statement they should make on a matter as weighty as this. I think also, even the Biafra agitation family, they too are as worried. So if you look at it, if you check around the various fora of Igbo extraction and preponderance, you will see that the topic for discussion is the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu. You see to and fro, people are yet to make up their mind, as a matter of fact, on the position to take. But generally, I think people, Igbo particularly, are not happy. Whether you really liked Nnamdi Kanu or supported Biafra or supported his brand of Biafra struggle, I think the average Igbo man saw this as embarrassing, an effrontery, and rightly so. And I think even those who never really supported Nnamdi Kanu's struggle are beginning to develop a bit of sympathy for him based on the way and manner he was brought back to Nigeria. And of course, there you have a number of Ndi Igbo who are gloating over his arrest. They may do so within close the Igbo circles, but in the open, they don't. And a few, of course, could, like Joe Igbo Kwe and others, you can see them celebrating. But the generality of Igbos are not. And why is it so? I think it has to do with the method. We are all aware that extradition of Nnamdi Kanu is not before any court in the world. At a point, there was a petition or a claim that there was a petition from the Nigerian government to the British government saying that complaining about the conduct of Nnamdi Kanu. But that didn't translate to extradition trial. And initially, we suspected he was picked up in Britain. Eventually, it dawned on us that it was in Africa, in Kenya, to be precise. Even now, nobody can say precisely the circumstances of his arrest and rather kidnapped and he's being ferried back to Nigeria. But if you look at what the lawyer, Ejiofor said, I listened to his interview in BBC Igbo. He said that Nnamdi was in Kenya for a meeting and was actually returning and was intercepted at the airport. You know, the other version of the story was to the effect that he was coming in and was intercepted at the airport. One thing is clear. His return to Nigeria didn't follow legal process. You know, I know there is a bench warrant asking that he should be brought back to court, but Justice Bintanyako, who issued that order, you know, her jurisdiction ends here in Nigeria, you know, and I don't think that it extends to Ghana, to Kenya. And even the Kenyan authorities, because their police was certainly involved. If the Kenyan authorities arrested Nnamdi Kanu and handed him over to Nigeria to be brought back, Kenyan authorities, President Uhuru Kenyatta, should be ultimately held responsible, as far as I am concerned. In summary, I am not happy. I'm not a fan of Nnamdi Kanu, but I want due process to be followed, both in his extradition, his trial, and all that. And the way and manner he is brought back, you know, is suggesting that.
But Dr. Mefor, thank you very much. Although, let me ask this question to Ms. Briggs while we come back to you later.
Yes.
Should anyone really be shocked that the federal government of Nigeria will do everything they can to bring Nnamdi Kanu back to Nigeria, seeing the amount of rhetoric that have been coming from him? Should anyone really be surprised?
You're asking me, I suppose?
Yes, please.
Okay. No, I don't think that anyone is surprised or should be surprised that, as you put it, that the Nigerian government will do everything, even if that thing is illegal. And Nigeria, as I pointed out with the case of Henry Oka and referring us to Umaru Diko, under Obasanjo, and that's under Obasanjo, the Henry Oka, under Buhari, Umaru Diko, and then this is also Buhari again. So basically Nigeria is used to, or rather we are used to, and the world is used to Nigeria doing these underhanded things that they do to get their way. I'm not surprised.
Okay, now, Dr. Amadi, you said that it doesn't really matter, or it may or may not matter. It may not or may not really affect the criminal justice system moving ahead with the trial. Now, but this is a political matter. Do we see the trial going ahead, or do you envisage a political settlement at the end of the day?
Okay, let me speak from experience. Having been part of Kensara who go to trial as a young lawyer, the nature of political It's a design and the intent of getting Nnamdi Kanu is not to establish legal justice. It's actually to establish some kind of political outcome, which is either to dissipate, de-escalate the struggle, to take some vengeance against him, and if possible, put him off for some time. So, or even in worst case, execution, like happened in Cancer War. But a legal justice, like in the Ogonic struggle, which was to deal with alleged killing of, or the killing of some Ogoni leaders by some Ogonis, is a subset of pacification to overthrow the movement, the Mossop struggle. So this is how the federal government will read it. So the political weather, the headwinds coming, whether in terms of public protests, whether in terms of, like Law said, maybe Igbo leaders coming up strong to put a position, whether in terms of strategic interest of keeping Nigeria together, will shape ultimately or influence depending.
I think his network is hanged, which is unfortunate because he's really making some salient points that I personally find very interesting. I think he's back. Dr. Amadi, you are back now. Dr. Amadi, at a point we lost you. All right, I think we lost him finally. Dr. Mefor, let me ask, so what could be the political implications of, do you envisage repercussion or political implication in the Southeast if not, when Nnamdi Kanu's trial starts moving ahead?
Well, for me, it's difficult to predict now. I know that it's a setback for the Biafra agitation family, whether we like it or not. It's also a setback for even some of us who believe in restructured Nigeria. And I'll tell you why. You see, the pressure coming from separatist Biafra movement is somehow, helping the pressure for restructuring Nigeria. People may not admit it, but it's a fact. And I believe that the federal government, if they are allowed to get away with this, can go on and call the bluff of every other person else. And that is what is likely to happen. But the solution to getting the federal government to really see that they are not supposed to get away with what they have done, it must come ultimately from Britain, because it is Britain that is the other country that Nnamdi Kanu holds their passport as a citizen, under which he actually traveled to Kenya. So if there's going to be any intervention to really get the federal government to be sober over this terrible conduct, it has to come from Britain. But let me shock us a bit here. I don't see that coming from Britain. The Britain I know will not do anything. Otherwise, they should have done something by now. The person that spoke the other day, he was a very junior officer in the British embassy in Nigeria. In fact, only on Friday, the British High Commissioner paid the Attorney General of Nigeria a courtesy visit, where they discussed every other thing else except the kidnap and repatriation of Nnamdi Kanu through unlawful means. So if that is the case, as I followed through the media, for me it was a diplomatic statement. If the British High Commissioner met the Attorney General of the Federation and they didn't discuss this matter, It means that it's a non-issue as far as they are concerned. And it's a diplomatic, the diplomatic message, which ought to be decoded by those who know. And given that circumstance, what I advise should be done is that the apex Igbo political leadership need to really throw the lethargy aside and come together and take a position on the matter. I don't advise them to move against the trial.
What position do you expect the apex Igbo leadership to take in this matter?
They must repudiate the way a manner Nnamdi Kanu, is being brought to justice. They must raise serious questions over the fairness of his trial, because the way a manner is being brought to justice does not guarantee that there will be fair hearing. That is the issue here. He's already
someone has just I don't know whether you saw a statement on the now. Basically, leadership speak, they are perpetually assaulted and assaulted by the same person.
No,
so,
you see,
what do you have to respond to that?
It's not about Nnamdi Kanu now. You see, Nnamdi Kanu has become a symbol of sorts. Like I said before, I am not really his fan, even though he's a very close friend. He's somebody, I am not his fan because he has not. I don't like his method. But this is now beyond him and his method. We are talking about, an affront. It's an affront as far as I am concerned. I believe the federal government should have brought him back through a normal process. They should have applied for his extradition, and the trial will go through the normal process. You are a lawyer, you know the process, especially in Britain, where you do practice. There is a process for this. You don't just go to the airport, hijack him from there, move him to the Nigerian embassy, drug him and bring him back to Nigeria, and call that a justiciable process. I don't see justice coming out of this.
All right, Dr. Mefor, I thank you very much, sir. I will get back to you. Let's go back to Dr. Sama Amadi now. Dr. Amadi, you were making some points before the network interrupted.
Yeah, to build on that, I was trying to say that, look, the lawyers now have the responsibility to see this trial as a trial of Nigeria. That's how to proceed first. This is a trial that you need to build a lot of cases. So, for example, several applications dealing with all these issues law have raised. You have to make them now. You have to converge political trial and legal trial in one courtroom. You have to see that courtroom as a courtroom to promote your ideology and your practice, and to show that you are not a terrorist, but a revolutionary. Now, let's give you an example of Kesaro. When he was arrested, we knew that the tribunal was a hangman's court. In fact, I gave an interview to Time Magazine and I said, it's a hangman's tribunal. Ken didn't want us to go to trial because he said, look, this is done deal. The government wants to kill me. The government wants to disrupt the Mossop movement. But we advised, Gary Farmer advised, said, no, let's use that court to show to the world what is at stake. This is not just niceties of maybe a press conference. No, you have to really push the state to the edge where the combination, and the Nigerian state has low prosecutorial capability. They're going to make several errors. In fact, we succeeded that we got the British, the Law Society in England and the Bar Society and the Law Council of Bar Society, I'm sure. They sent Bembo, Queen Counsel. And when Bembo watched proceeding, we filed several suits. We forced the court to make error. By the time he left, he wrote a report and said this was judicial murder. At that point, we felt comfortable to withdraw from the trial so that we do not legitimize a preordained murder through judicial process. So the point is this, that this is a political trial, even as it's a legal trial. It's not just about, and if you look at the evidence they're going to do, so about, let's say, for example, issues around killing of people, some confessional statement by some persons, they are not evidence are capable of establishing through cogent evidential process liability for murder for anybody, because the idea of who was murdered, who said what, you have to, for example, the trial going on the US, Trump could be said to have excited activity, but to link a particular criminal outcome to statements that people make at time, is a big deal. And so let's not, the lawyers shouldn't focus just on the trial going in the court. They should look at the bigger trial in the society. That this is really a fight between contending views of Nigeria, and the Nigerian state is going to see this as a political trial, political persecution, or political put down of particular movement and their leadership. And that means that maybe they need to expand the scope of their lawyer. Egoism, some sense of, oh, we're lawyers to Nnamdi Kanu. They should look for a mixture of great attorneys, experts in criminal trial, experts in political trial. If they do so, then they can push the government throughout the 2 years tenure of the president, and the outcome, both international and local, of that trial will now create the political momentum for a political settlement. If they approach it in what seems like a typical error of the way they run things, which we have seen from all the process, it might be open and close. And the Nigerian state at this level is resembling even more Abacha than Abacha. So they could actually just open and close this deal. They really need to be politically smart and mobilize, not just mobilize the NPA, create, show true evidence and true process why the Nigerian person should be interested. Why people who don't care about their struggle, who may disagree with the Nnamdi's methodology and some of the silly things that they do in the name of advocacy, can come in because they can see a pattern of a vicious persecution. If you're not able to expand that bandwidth and attract diverse people, attract institutional players in the bar, in the bench, and professionals, then you will be at the losing end. So it's political by nature, but it depends on two things: the government, the British government, the international community, and the government themselves respond to the incentives. How Igbo leaders, very important. This is a time now, a backdoor channel by his lieutenants to make peace with the Igbo leaders, the governors, create collective stakeholding. This will put pressure on the state, and this government is weak, basically, facing too many headwinds. I don't see them proceeding in total defense of the position of Igbo leaders, the position of Niger leaders, Southwest leaders. There's a growing sense of support across the Niger on this issue, South, Southwest, even if I'm not as a person, but on what this means. The other good thing is that this is happening at the time there's a strong Yoruba nationalism, and also they're being targeted. So a smart strategy will weave this together into a confluence, and then that will really push back on government, and then they'll go for a political settlement.
Yeah. Before I move on to our next speaker, one question I would like to ask you arising from what you said is, how will these work out where the federal government has already declared IPOB a terrorist organization? So how will these legal...
Yes. But very good question. Look, if a terrorist organization, if you look at the act and the law, even if we don't want to challenge that, I would argue that even that law is the IPOB people should have challenged it in court for being unconstitutional. Because at the time, I don't know now, at the time they were declared, there were no recorded acts of violence. We can argue now whether there is or not, okay? But then there was not. So it was ex parte with a judge, no hearing. And so one could argue, arguably, based on the Constitution, because the right to association is a right that's guaranteed. So if you're going to proclaim an association I belong to as unconstitutional, as terrorists, you need to build up evidence and give the people right to hear. So I believe that if you have gone to court, the good judge, the Supreme Court, could have modified that Terror Act or amended the requirement of notice. But again, it is what it is. They've been declared as terrorist group. But the membership and propagation of the message of a terror group does not equate to actual acts of terror. So the Nigerian court is going to try him on set offenses: treason, maybe murder, maybe taking arms against government, maybe. Each of those offenses have their ingredients. They are not necessarily tied to the fact that he remains a leader of a illegal organization, because membership of illegal organization has its own consequences if proven. Some of the offenses he's going to be charged with are not offenses of illegal membership of organization banned by the federal government, but actually offenses that have their own ingredients. So you can disentangle. So yes, the IPOB by Nigerian law today is classified as a terror organization, even though I think it was a grievous offense, nothing terrorist about them, at least as at that point. But again, the question now remains, how are you able to prove this case? But beyond all this, you see, the federal government plays some role in getting him out of detention and bail. The government was prepared to have him go out of prison and maybe stop the advocacy. So it's not like government cares so much about IPOB being a terror. All that government wants is to end the agitation, to end the secession bid. So if everybody in IPOB suddenly gives up and say they're IPOB, they're now building churches and mosques, building hospitals and providing drugs for patients, government will turn a blind eye. They will forget there was something called terrorist group in their book. What they are concerned is not the nicety of law. They are concerned with politics, with stopping a tide. And if they can see enough political buy-in, that's the point I'm making, that in politics, I've been in government for 12 years as an advisor. A strategy, you look at, you don't go for the perfect and the bad, you look at marginal outcomes. So if government can secure buy-in of Igbo leaders, and what they want is for you to get this trial off, government to do that, provided there's sufficient quid pro quo. So the idea here is that this is the wrong time to antagonize the leadership at home. This is the right time to build a collective intervention and allow the case to go through the judicial process. But at a point, don't forget that Attorney General can take the case out of the court, can delay it, even formal or informal, can even tell the judges to adjourn it to 2023 or anytime they like. That's it. And all of us will say, well, political settlement. We've had several cases. Don't forget that Masob leader was also charged to court under Obasanjo. And Anyem and the Igbo leaders found a way to convince the government to take a political negotiated outcome. And they did that, and Wazuke was out. So I'm not ruling out a political settlement, and I'm not saying it will happen. It depends on both the government's disposition, sensibility, and how they view Nnamdi and how they look at the other larger context of political forces. If they think that this is an orphan, it's a political orphan, they will go all the way. And then it will now depend on how Nnamdi fights back and push back.
All right, we will come back to you, sir, when we look at what happened with Waziri was under Obasanjo, and now we have a Buhari in power, but we will have to come back to that later. Let's go to Ms. Briggs at this point. You are a Niger Delta activist, so we would like to know, and you feels the heartbeat of the Niger Delta movement. How is the rearrest of Nnamdi Kanu being felt in the Niger Delta region? Do you have anything to tell us?
Well, it's definitely mixed, just the same way it is mixed even from this discussion that we're holding from this platform. The reaction is mixed. If you look at the chats that people are dropping in the chat box, you will see that is clearly very mixed.
Exactly.
And so it's the same in the Niger Delta. I don't know if you saw the governor of my state responding to, was it Arise or one of these stations, when they specifically asked him about the rearrest of Nnamdi Kanu. And that is definitely the same reaction that I personally have. This is somebody like Nnamdi Kanu. When he was first arrested, I definitely spoke up and very loudly for his release and his rights to express his desires, which I still do until tomorrow. So there are two things at play here. One of it is the right of Nnamdi Kanu and anybody else that believes in the call for freedom for his people. And then there is the other thing that is politics, which involves the politics as it is played here, the federal government, plus the governors of the Igbo nation. And then Nnamdi Kanu's own brand and style of agitating. Now, definitely when the agitation for IPOB came up, IPOB was definitely not seen, let me put it that way. And there was no evidence at that time to show if IPOB was violent. IPOB was not violent, but there were definitely a lot of them that came out over a period of time to be chanting what they wanted to chant. But all of us here, if we want to be truthful to ourselves, and I have been a victim of that sort of attack, verbal attack for disagreeing with certain aspects of how things are done. But then that's the choice that has been made. But at the bottom line, in Niger Delta, we have our own agitation. There are so many different groups. I agitate with my group for non-violent agitation intellectually, trying to reason, trying to bring the issues of rights to bear on the table. And but it is definitely very frustrating dealing with this government who seems not to listen to the issue of rights. And so you find today Nnamdi Kanu finds himself once again arrested by the federal government of Nigeria, by moving close to Nigeria, by going to Kenya and all of that. You see somebody like, what's his name, Sunday, being arrested. I mean, what happened to him? Attempts have been made variously to have him arrested. And then, of course, what happened now, it's really very shameful when you have a government like Nigeria that should be the guiding light for Black people, arranging to arrest somebody and very clearly setting it up to the extent of using false narrative, like the pictures they are showing that that they found guns with him. Now it's been proven that those pictures are actually as far back as 2013 or something like that. I mean, how do you deal with a government like Nigeria Nigeria is behaving like a tout amongst uneducated tout amongst the community of nations. If you have people who are not happy in your country, you don't shoot them, you don't kill them. Other people may do so, but we don't have to do it in Nigeria. So I definitely believe that it's about time this government wakes up. When Jonathan was saying, when I leave office, you will know what the difference between freedom and not freedom. People were ridiculing him today. We can see very clearly the difference between Goodluck Jonathan as a person and his party and the people he chose around him to work with, and the government of today, the personality of Buhari and the people around him that are working with him. You see the Attorney General speaking about the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu in Hausa language. I mean, exactly what does that mean? I'm supposed to be a Nigerian. I'm supposed to hear what the Attorney General is saying to me as a Nigerian, but he wasn't speaking to me because he doesn't consider me a Nigerian. And yet, if I say that I want to break away from Nigeria, they would descend on me. So Nigeria is not going to get away. The Buhari government, what Buhari and the government are doing, will have to come to a head sooner or later, one time or the other. But you know what? It depends on all of us that are seated here. If we continue to accept that it's okay for this government to break laws and get away with it, and then go after other people that break the same laws, I don't see how Nigeria is going to get any better. I do agree that if this government and if we, the people, continue to demand for a restructured Nigeria, I don't think that people who want to separate from Nigeria will do so. Look, if I am able to use my resources to develop Rivers State, I don't care who is the president of Nigeria. And yet you see with the PIB bill, I mean, oil producing communities are getting 3%. And my people, my very own people, are jumping up and down, patting themselves in the back because they are in that political party, forgetting that these same people have taken 30% for themselves, calling it frontier investment for oil. Where are they going to find that oil? And every single year, they are going to take that amount of money. And then somebody like NDA comes up and makes a threat, and they say, go after them. No, we have to really agree. Is either we're moving forward as Nigerians, or we have to agree that we cannot move forward as Nigerians and really begin to find a way very quickly before 2023. How do we stop the bloodshed? Because the bloodshed I see ahead is far worse and far more than what we have experienced so far.
Thank you very much, Ms. Briggs. Dr. Mefor, you have had the presentation by Dr. Sama Amadi, talking in terms of if the federal government sees Nnamdi Kanu as a political orphan, it will make negotiated solution very difficult. You have also listened to Ms. Briggs comparing it to what's happening now with Sunday Igbo, the lawlessness of the agents of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And my question to you now will be, how does Igbo elites view Nnamdi Kanu at the moment? Because I ask this question because during his first arrest and the first trial, when it was time to give him bail, you see Igbo politicians falling over themselves to see who will provide bail for Nnamdi Kanu. And that facilitated, those backroom channels facilitated his release. But now you can agree with me that a lot of water has passed under the bridge in the relationship between Igbo elites and then Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB. So my question to you now is Nnamdi Kanu right now a political orphan?
Well, he is. Yes, I should say yes. And if that were an injury, is a self-inflicted injury. However, this moment calls for total leadership. And I think it's an opportunity for the political leaders of the Southeast to really rise to the occasion. They shouldn't allow the way and manner Nnamdi Kanu treated them as a person. I wasn't happy with that myself, but I still believe they must intervene now, because it's not just about Nnamdi Kanu now. We need to do more. We have to go beyond him. You see, the way and the processes followed to bring him out, in the first arrest and detention and trial, I think I have a fair idea of what went through, because I was part of the group.
Yeah. I remember that you are very much involved.
Yes, I was involved. So I know the processes we went and things like that. But I tell you, the situation is a bit different now. It's a bit different because the IPOB family didn't show appreciation. They even attacked those who helped them. Take the case of Nnamdi Kanu, for example. He was assaulted in Nuremberg, something like that. A place in Germany. I can't pronounce that name properly. He was assaulted. His clothes torn off his back. Even as a sitting deputy Senate president. You can understand that kind of a thing. And these were the people that really put his bail together and all that. So it's going to be tough, very, very tough. But even at that, they still have to rise. Men like Eporemado, they have to forgive. They must come together and do something. And doing something here, two things. You see, I don't believe that this is a legal trial, personally. I believe that, the process has already started as a kangaroo trial. So I don't see Nnamdi Kanu getting a fair trial before Justice Binta Nyako. I don't see that happening. He's already disorientated. He's already disorganized. Even his health is now suspect and all that. So he can be pressured into accepting this and that just to come out. We saw that with Wazurike. And I think that we just have to get our political leaders, Ohaneze, the governors, the political leadership of the Southeast must come together and find political settlement for what is going on. If we allow this thing to go through full-blown legal process, I don't see Nnamdi Kanu getting justice. It will mess things up even further. They need to do so. In fact, they need to prevail on Britain. Britain has a role to play because Nnamdi Kanu is still their citizen. He traveled on their passport. So they must wake now. Coming up to wish him away at this point in time is not healthy. After all, it has taken months since we had the Nigeria petition Britain. What have they done with that petition before he came to this? You know, he was traveling through their borders. He was traveling through their airports. If he was not supposed to travel out of Britain, how did they leave the place? You know, so Britain cannot wash their hands off what is going on. Kenya also cannot wash their hands off what is going on. Kenya is a clear accomplice in what has happened. Kenyan government under, you know, the young mercurial leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta, it needs to really wake up and do something. They need to get this matter to be resolved politically and not legally. That's my position. And finally, let me say something. You see, I would suggest that the Biafra agitation family, they are not they carry on as if they are too shocked to even wake up from their slumber. They are not doing enough. They have not shown they have not shown courage. They've not shown understanding. If you are looking for revolution, revolution is not a child's play. It's not what you do from your mansion. It's not what you do from the comfort zone. It's about arrest, detention. It's about imprisonment. It is about exile. They need to know this. The Biafra agitators are not doing enough. In fact, they don't even understand what this agitation is all about. I am for a structured Nigeria, but I am not asking them to stop what they are doing. What I don't want them to get involved in is armed struggle.
That is the question I want to ask now, Dr. Mefor, because even before, say 2 weeks before Nnamdi Kanu's arrest, it would appear, prove me if I'm wrong, it would appear as if the agitation for Biafra is getting somewhat unpopular because of the activities of the unknown gunmen in quote. So is it not true that a lot of people started feeling, hey guys, if this is what this Biafra agitation will bring to our backyard, we have to reconsider all these things we are doing. Is that
certainly
not so?
Yeah. Certainly so. I was one of the people that got discouraged when unknown gunmen emerged on the scene. When IPOB formed Eastern Security Network, what we thought they wanted to do was Igbo homeland security, strengthen our vigilante, free our forests of killer or known headsmen. That's what we thought. But when we started seeing INEC offices being burnt down, police stations burnt down, army, navy, policemen killed, innocent people beheaded, for God's sake, I could not but distance myself from it. There is this logic I get from some of them that blood must flow, people must die before Biafra would come. It's a lie. It's not true. That's the logic from the pit of hell. It's not true. There are countries that went through legal political processes to emerge. There are countries, look, how many people died before South Sudan emerged? How many people died before Eritrea emerged? How many people died before Kosovo and even Yugoslavia broke up? USSR, how many people died? So the argument that there must be bloodshed, there must be bloodbath before Biafra would emerge is not true. They are being misled. They need to do a total turnaround and lead a better process that can help them. Literature abound on what revolution of this nature should be. I am not for armed struggle. I will never be party to it. I discussed one-on-one with Nnamdi Kanu on why he must not contemplate armed struggle. It took me traveling to Umuahia 2-3 times to engage him on this. He agreed there will be no armed struggle. 3 weeks after our last meeting, Nnamdi Kanu launched the Biafra Security Service. That was when I washed off my hands and just left him to his own design. So if this is what they want, armed struggle to bring about Biafra, they will see that they will lose over 90% of Igbo. We are not violent people. We are not. And I believe that if Biafra will come, Biafra will come. And let me tell you, even armed struggle will delay the coming of Biafra because we are not prepared for it. We are not in a place for it. Let me tell you, if you check the first experience, when Ojukwu led armed struggle between 1967 and 1970, we saw how we failed. Those of us who weren't born then can see the literature, can see the documentaries. Our position today is not any better than it was in 1967. So why are you contemplating armed struggle now? We can't afford it. Go on, press for Biafra. I am pressing for a structured Nigeria, whichever comes first. Nnamdi Kanu even told me that if he can see restructured Nigeria, he would de-escalate sovereign state of Biafra agitation. And I believed him. So that is why some of us are still pushing for a structured Nigeria. And that is what all of us need. For me, sovereign state of Biafra becomes inevitable if restructuring is not possible. This is my own position. And I don't see why restructuring should not happen. It must happen because restoration of federation and federalism to Nigeria was what our founding fathers agreed with Britain before independence. So looking for it now is justice, is justiciable, is equity, is inevitable. It has to be, and it has to be now. See, finally, even if this is my last intervention, I am urging, I'm appealing to our governors, the Southeast governors. I'm appealing to Ohanese, led by Professor George Obiozo. I am appealing to Igbo political leadership. They have to rise. They need to connect Kenya. They need to connect Britain. They need to connect Nigeria government. They need to resolve this matter politically. That's where I stand, and that is what I wish. That is what I would work for.
Okay, I thank you. Let's go back to Dr. Sam Amadi at this point. You can help, please, co-host, help me to ask Dr. Sam Amadi to unmute himself. Yeah, I can see him now. Dr. Amadi, you talked about political solution, and you can also hear Dr. Mefor speak about political solution. Do you see that happening in view of the extreme violence that was happening in the Southeast barely a month, 3 weeks ago? Some of them being ascribed to his rhetorics, whether it is true or false. Yes.
It can happen because, one, it's not a political orphan completely. He is a political orphan to an extent, but not completely. Nobody, not completely, but essentially because he has the crowd, he has the masses with him, he has the young people, he has big support. And of course, politicians, the political leaders will want to have the support of the young people. So he still has political following. The issue is to connect it to political leadership. That's one. So, and I think in spite of what has happened, it's still in the interest of the governors and their followers and the people in the villa, the presidency, to have peace in the region. And so depending on how creative, how effective they are, both Nnamdi's people and the governor's side can really get significant political support and create a political outcome. It's still possible. The government will want peace. The governors want to have support of the youths in the zone. So that's what will guarantee some degree of effectiveness in seeking for political support. So how you build together the incentives will determine, and I think the incentives is strong enough now.
Well, thank you. We'll soon start taking questions from the audience. Let me ask Ms. Briggs this last question before I take questions from the audience. Ms. Briggs, do you see the some people say we should not say the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, let us rather say the kidnap and abduction of Nnamdi Kanu. Do we see the abduction of Nnamdi Kanu and bringing him back to Nigeria contributing towards East in the Eastern region as a whole, not just Southeast, South-South? Will it contribute to the East or will it destabilize the Eastern region? What do you think?
Well, from the little I know, definitely it will destabilize. Even from what we're discussing, again, I refer to that, and the reaction that even if you look at your inbox reaction and the streaming and all of that going on, it will destabilize. It will destabilize the region, the Igbo region, and quite honestly, to a very large extent, my own Niger Delta region and the southern region as a whole, because already it has affected Sunday's freedom, and the Yorubas are shouting for this type of change, for Nigeria, and we in the Niger Delta also are feeling the impact, the negative impact of the wrong things that this government have been doing. And the most important thing, in my opinion, today is that politicians have to take their responsibility. There is a large responsibility that belongs to them, and they must take that responsibility. That responsibility must be regional. That responsibility must be based on the fact that we have 3 regions in the South, and we have to secure ourselves, our security from the Southwest to the Southeast and to the South-South is interlinked. We're interlinked by the East-West Road. We're interlinked by the forest. We are interlinked by the sea, by the rivers, and things like that.
By the road, Enugu Port Harcourt expressways.
Yes. And I try to explain to my people that let us assume someone is determined to cross the River Niger and gets to Asaba, and crosses the River Niger and gets into Anambra State and moves on. He's going to pass through the Igbo states. And well, once he passes through that, he's coming to the Niger Delta. And so I see the Southeast states as the buffer. And so will the Southeast see the Middle Belt and the Southwest as a buffer. So there needs to be a security discussion. There needs to be a security affiliation. There needs to be an understanding of, an understanding of dependence and reliability on each other, and what we can give to each other. Failing that, we cannot do it alone. But let me quickly add this. There is a need for discussion. One person cannot sit down in Southwest and make a decision for all of us. One person cannot sit down in the Southeast and decide what state, what town, what city belongs to the old Eastern region. We're not talking about Eastern region. We're talking about states today. We're talking about geopolitical zones. You and I may find it distasteful, and you and I may not have created Southwest, Southeast, and all of those things, but whether we like it or not, they are created, and we are operating under this identities and this recognition. And so this rhetoric of insulting people and abusing people that don't agree with you, we can all begin to see the effect of it. It has taken us apart. It has taken away unity from us. It has not allowed us to have the real discussion that we should have had. You hear somebody like Wike who is seen as somebody who doesn't like Igbo people, today one of his counterparts have actually come out to accuse him of that. And yet today you hear him very clearly saying, you know, I may not like what Nnamdi Kanu, what he does or how he does what he does, but definitely I want justice and rights for Nnamdi Kanu. So we're not saying that Nnamdi Kanu should not stand trial of the first one. We're not even saying if you have to add things to whatever you want to add. The question we're asking is if Nnamdi Kanu is a fugitive, and if Nnamdi Kanu is in Kenya or wherever he was, how was he moved from Kenya to Nigeria? Was there a court a proceeding? Was there an application to the Kenyan yes, and legal aspects where Nnamdi Kanu case was discussed by law and law said yes, extradite him? You can't. What they did, as it seems, is they followed Nnamdi Kanu, and Nnamdi Kanu ended up in Kenya. And whether he was kidnapped or whether he was abducted, definitely it was not legal. The process was not legal. That's the reality of it. Now, all of these things should show us that what we are fighting is divide and rule. And if we're fighting divide and rule, it's not going to help us if we recognize it and not do anything about the divide and rule. That is our problem. And we must begin to work together with the Yorubas, with the Niger Delta ethnic nationalities. Look, in my place, it's even worse. Yoruba people are one people. They speak the same language. Igbo people are one people. We see you as one people. But the Niger Delta, we have so many ethnic nationalities. Even in River State alone, we have the Ikwere people, Ogoni people, Ijaw people, Lekpeye people, Gi people. So even if River State wants to take a decision, it is so delicate that you have to be able to get the balance right. And the South has not got the balance right. And it's the same problem the middle belt is facing, and continuously blaming the middle belt for things that has happened before, and therefore hindering the good that the middle belt can bring. Look, these people cannot pass through middle belt if middle belt don't want them to pass through, or if we have a relationship to come and invade us. But we have to have a relationship of understanding, of security, and covering each other for anybody to pass through the middle belt, pass through the southeast before they get to the Niger Delta, or pass through the southeast before they get to the south. Pass through the southwest before they get to the southeast. We must come together and realize that we face the same problem. How do we solve it? We don't solve it by insulting people who are old enough to be your father. Who are the people now discussing Nnamdi Kanu's case? It's not the people that insult people every day on social media and things like that. It's people like you and I now that are out here discussing it.
All right. We thank you very much, Ms. Briggs. Let's take the first question from Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Chadwick. Mr. Chadwick Okoye, please, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I have just two questions to Dr. Amadi and Mefor. One of the questions is, now that Nnamdi Kanu was abducted from Kenya, is it possible that Nnamdi Kanu's legal team seeks for some sort of intervention, maybe from foreign court, possibly International Criminal Court, requesting that Nigerian government has to, first of all, clarify the legality of the bringing Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria, which possibly may have to hinder the process of the trial. This is my first question. The second question is, two of you has profiled political solution. Is it possible to give us a little hint on what political solution possibly you are looking at? Maybe just to highlight us one or two possible political solutions. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much. Can we hear first from Dr. Sami Amadi, please? Can you unmute yourself? Dr. Amadi, please. Okay, Dr. Mefor, can you start first? Dr. Mefor, can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, I can't do it. Okay, have I done that now?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm not sure that the International Criminal Court can stop an internal.
Dr. Mefor, if you don't mind, can we have you address the political question and then allow Dr. Amadi to address the legal question?
Yes, that's what I want to do.
Yes.
Then, like I said, you see, the whole Biafra agitation struggle is a political matter. It's not a legal matter. So whatever problems emanating from it, the best way to handle such problems is to handle them through a political process.
That is, his question is, what type of political solution do you envisage to solve the problem?
That is what I want to prescribe.
Yes.
And I'm laying a foundation for him to understand that this is not something that can happen any other way except it is resolved politically. And I believe that the best approach, the best political approach, I've already named the actors that will have to get into the fray immediately. I've talked about the governors, I've talked about Ohanese, I've talked about the Igbo political elite. They have to find a way of coming into it and putting behind them what Nnamdi Kanu has done to them as individuals and as groups. If you check the charts, even on this forum, you know, on this particular forum where we are this moment, you see people saying that Ohanese, that the Nnamdi Kanu and Ohanese or IPOB will never be on the same page. I want to tell such people to perish such thought. If they think Ohanese can play a role, no problem. If they think the governors cannot play a role, no problem. If they think the Igbo political elites cannot play a role, no problem. But I tell you that the way and manner this matter is progressing is not something you can resolve legally. That's a fact. And Nnamdi Kanu has been through this road before. He was brought out in 2017. We followed a political process. We didn't follow through a legal process. That's a fact. Even now, the situation is a bit more dicey because he has handed them even more evidence to prove this and that were not so apparent when we were going for the political process initially. Now, I am appealing to the IPOB family to come down from their high horse. Let them know that there is no way they can win this war without the cooperation of the Igbo elders, without the cooperation of the Igbo political elite. Let me tell you, Jesus Christ, I consider him the very first activist. Jesus Christ had Joseph of Arimathea that buried him. apostles were not, they are getting the upper room.
Mefor, I think you mistakenly muted your system. Can you unmute, please?
Dr. Mefor, you're muted. Unmute yourself. Okay, go ahead.
I'm not muted from this side unless you mute me from there. I'm not saying it.
Go ahead. We can hear you now. I can no longer hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Please, let me round off.
Yes, please.
See, listen. See, the Southeast is made up of possibly 40 to 50 million people. IPOB family is a fraction of that. They are doing fantastically well, but they cannot wish the other people away, even the other Biafra agitation families. No, they cannot. We need to work together. We need, in fact, Nnamdi Kanu, we need the cells intact. We need him not to be isolated at this moment. He's already isolated. He has to be helped now. And the more they push away the political leaders of the Southeast, is the more difficult they make the matter for Nnamdi Kanu. They may not believe it, but time shall tell. I believe there is time to do some work, some legwork, some spade work. If that is done, it would be possible to resolve this matter politically.
All right. We thank you.
We make it more complicated than it is at the moment.
Thank you, Dr. Mefor. Let me point out that our time is running out, so let's just quickly take less time so that we'll be able to take all the questions that I can see coming up. Dr. Amadi, are you now able to address the legal question about, is there any way, foreign bodies, international community can be brought into this matter? What is your opinion?
Yes, of course. Like first and foremost, they're already in, but maybe tangentially by virtue of his citizenship, which is not an immunity or a preclusion to trial, but means that he will have opportunity to have consular services from citizens, country of his citizenship. The UK will at least have a watching brief on, as the case proceeds. So that's one aspect. The other issue is around internationalizing the trial or some of the processes building up to now. Law has spoken about the lackluster approach of the British, maybe, but they still have a role to play. The investigations, processes, and if they really want to play a big role, that's also a question around what evidence the government has against him. No country in the world would want to be seen as coming out to support terrorism if that's established. So the nature of the offense, the evidence, the character of the evidence, and how the narrative out there. Narrative is important. Part of what Lai Mohammed is doing ineptly is to build a narrative around discrediting Nnamdi Kanu and his crusade by talking about lifestyle, talking about junketing and all kinds of stuff. It's about narrative. So if the narrative is the narrative of freedom fighter, of somebody who is fighting for his people, it probably will induce the British government to not just watch brief, not just provide consular services, but also intensify engagement with the Nigerian government with a view to aborting the trial of their citizens. So it's a function of what really is evidence. And again, how the framing is done. Some of the scandalous fake news, it's not how to frame this kind of thing. It's not people's just claim by some of his people. It's about factual but tendentious kind of narratives that presents him in a different light and present the underlying issue of the Nigerian. The British know by now that this country is going through a crisis. They've been talking to the president, they've been talking to, for them to go and meet a joint national council. There's like they're going through some kind of inquisition or some kind of process to know how this country is massively failing and perhaps to build a scenario that tells them what to do next. So they understand the bigger crisis beyond Nnamdi Kanu's alleged criminality. They know that there's something boiling here. And so if the British can be brought in, sunk in further into that underlying crisis that threw up this case, they may internationalize it, and that's very important for how it ends. This government has shown that it's more susceptible to foreign influence than local influence. I mean, most of the major concessions come at the behest of London or UK, and if they're serious, then the government will back down. For example, I think it's the British, likely to the British effort, I think that Nnamdi Kanu is giving a medical legal advisory service as early as now. Knowing this government, with the case of Sowore, with the case of Nnamdi Kanu, you have to bring many orders, many court orders in the past to allow access to lawyer at this early time. They will disregard it. So the fact that they've allowed this lawyer to meet with him in about 3 or 4 days after he was brought back to Nigeria, and we are hearing about possible medical examination. So suggests to me that maybe the UK, even if it's half-hearted intervention, is creating a pressure on the federal government to be more transparent, to be more rule-based in managing the Nnamdi Kanu's case. I think what they would really like to do is to be as fair as they can within the circumstances, and then hope that somehow the evidence during trial will be able to convict Nnamdi Kanu and deny him of any international pressure, the human rights, call it whether it's human rights organizations or whether it's governments that will be concerned about Nigeria's violation of the rights of the people. So that's another thing. The third thing that's going to happen, or that can draw the international community in, is if the Nigerian government creates a lot of violent scenes. So assuming we begin to see some protestations across the country, and then there are clamped down, people are killed, IPOB members, for example, may be killed in that process, then you will expect a greater foreign government involvement because of the huge human rights implication of those actions, and they will impact on the trial. So the Nigerian safest route is to keep it simple and straightforward. Make it a trial. Do not use the opportunity to persecute IPOB members, arrest persons, as what is talking about. Oh, we have the database of all those who have made calls of donated money. The moment it's stretched, it becomes a persecution, more or less, and creates a bigger human rights violation. And that speaks also to the strategy I talk about. The lawyers can actually draw more countries in by the strategies they use. If they force the government to commit several errors, if they are able to dramatize this violation we're talking about, the fact that he wasn't arrested, he was actually kidnapped, he was actually interdicted. If those facts are brought out in open court and played large, it can then create opportunity for foreign governments, international human rights commission organizations, some of them having link with Washington, to come in, and that will bring it. So it's a function of how the federal government might trial. If they are more rule-based, keep it simple, don't use that as a guise to persecute any people or clamp down on people or sympathizers, and they don't drag in too many crises up and down as happening now, then they could probably keep it as legal trial and finish off with whatever the court may do. But if they don't, then it will snowball into a major political crisis, and then that the need to preserve the country, the need to save human lives may outweigh the legal justice component, and foreign governments may be more interested. But ultimately, it's about narrative, it's about legal strategy, it's about what the federal government does and how it prosecutes the case. If it turns into persecution of Nnamdi Kanu and his Igbo supporters, then it's going to escalate and become maybe true violence and deaths. It becomes a regional crisis, West African crisis, and ultimately, at least a global human rights issue that may get some governments more involved than they are now.
We thank you. Let's take another question from Mazi HM Okoye, please, if you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dan. My question goes to Dr. Mefor. In his earlier remarks, he said that we Igbos have a lot to worry about with regards to the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu. And the next question is, with regards to the political settlement that he talked about. So I was thinking, what kind of political settlement would that be? Because the person we are talking about, Nnamdi Kanu, is, to put it politely, the kind of person, if you allow him, he will start looking for allowance. And again, his whole brand is actually built on his combativeness against the powers that be. So how would you square that political settlement to be able to appease him and appease his followers? Thank you.
I think, like, if we can allow Ms. Briggs to come in at this point, she can. Ms. Briggs, can you please unmute yourself? Yeah, thank you very much. What do you have to say with regards to this question before we go back to Dr. Mefor, please?
Which of the questions?
Yeah, because I think Dr. Mefor has spoken on what political settlement he envisages. So I would like you also to talk about what type of political settlement do you think will be more effective rather than going through the legal route, especially with what we know of Nnamdi Kanu, his background?
Well, you see, it's not the same case as I cited of, let us say, the case of, I don't know how many people are aware of the case I'm referring to, the case of Henry Oka,
yeah.
Who was kidnapped in Angola when he had no case against him whatsoever at all, and just brought to Nigeria under Obasanjo before the case was instigated against him. Now, I'm not a lawyer, Sam is, but as a lay person, Nnamdi Kanu had a case that was going for him. Now, if we all recall, what happened was, no matter what led up to it, Nnamdi Kanu's home was invaded by the police, and then Nnamdi Kanu seemingly went on the ground and surfaced outside of Nigeria. The reason, in my layman's thinking, is that, well, he had to stay alive. You live to fight another day. Now, that is translated, whether we like it or whether he likes it or not, as to jump in bail, because for whatever it is, for whatever it is, he was on he was on bail. And so that's one aspect of it. How anything is possible. It is possible to resolve the issues that are destroying Nigeria at this particular time politically. People are asking for the country to be restructured. People have said here that in the past, Nnamdi Kanu has said, if Nigeria is restructured, that he will step down on his call for a separate country for himself and his people. Now, if this be the case, anything can have a political solution. And I think most Nigerians, particularly Igbo, will want a political situation, because if there is any set of people in Nigeria today that stands to lose economically because of the level of investment that they have all over Nigeria, it is Igbo people. So of course, a political solution is better for all, but that political solution cannot continue to place us as second-class citizens. When I say us, I'm talking about the Middle Belt people. I'm talking about the Yorubas. I'm talking about the Igbos and all the ethnic nationalities that make up the Niger Delta region. Whether the name was given to us whether we like it or we don't like it. That's what we are operating under. And people should stop referring to it as if we can just wave a magic wand and South-South will disappear, Southeast will disappear, and we will have the old Eastern region. It's not going to be. If you give my people the opportunity today, you will hear very clearly that my people will tell you that they don't want to go back to how things were before the war. So now, if that be the case, there is a political solution. What is that political solution? We have 36 states. Within these 36 states, we have, Igbo has 5 states that is made up of a block that is Igbo people. South-South people, Southwest, whatever you want to call them. People are grouped together and some are balkanized. Now, what we want is the ability to be able to use what you have to develop yourself so that Igbo will not go and invest their money outside of Igbo land and begin to invest their money in Igbo land. And people will not use their resources to go and develop other places. I mean, I keep going back to the PIB bill. What is this nonsense where there is a frontier allocation for, there is no frontier allocation, it's for the North, for God's sake. They want to use that 30% of the profit that is coming from NNPC, as if they've not taken everything, to invest in exploring for oil. What oil? They tell us that oil will be meaningless in the next 10 to 20 years, and they want to explore for oil. What are they exploring for? So there is a political solution, but the greed for oil today and the desire to make some of us second-class citizens in this country is what is driving this process. And unless we come together very quickly, and isolate the problem, we can isolate this problem. Politically, we can isolate the problem. People don't have to die. All this killing has to stop. All this oppression has to stop. But unless we come together as Middle Belt people, as Yoruba people, Igbo people, Niger Delta people, the minority really amongst us right now is what is causing the problem. So for me, there is a political solution, but that political solution must come from the politicians and from you and I.
All right, thank you very much. Because of time, let's move on. Let's take the next question, and then our other guests will now incorporate the questions into with the previous one. Dr. Nwankwo Nweziwe, you raise up your hand and made comments. Are you ready? Can you mute yourself, sir? Dr. Nwankwo Nweziwe, please. If not, we call on Stephen Chukwubikem, please. Can you unmute yourself?
All right, thank you very much. My name is Stephen Chukwubikem Theophilus. What I want to ask is, we all know that Nnamdi Kanu has made very huge impact, and we all know the political landscape of Nigeria. The politics in Nigeria, the way it is now, and the grip that the North has over the South, and the fact that the South and part of the Middle Belt are treated like second-class citizens is not history. But my question is, how do we change the mindsets? What strategy are we going to adopt to change the mindset of our brothers, especially those within the bubble called IPOB? Because I'm sorry to say, and I felt I should say this here, their mindset and their approach to issues in Nigeria is making things rather difficult for the political class. Yes, you may say the political class have not done much, or maybe like they refer to them as all traitors. But in a scene like this, you discover that their position, both in the National Assembly or in government, is quite key, one, for the freedom of our brother Nnamdi Kanu, and for any negotiation that will happen. So how do we begin to change this narrative? They painted this narrative of we are violent people, we don't do right politics, we can't even, a typical Southeast person cannot, have a handshake with the South person without trying to force down your ideas on them. And that time has gone. We need to change this mindset. We need to change this narrative and begin to be seen as people who are willing to play the politics of Nigeria. There is no way we can get presidency until we reach out to the Southwest, reach out to the South-South, reach out to the Middle Belt, and then negotiate. So how do we begin to change this narrative? How do we begin to speak to the young people? Because it appears, that's my view, our understanding is skewed now. And until we change that, even while Nnamdi Kanu is begging for help, they are still shouting as if by addressing Mr. President as one person who doesn't care about you will change the narrative. It wouldn't. By thinking that by pointing out hands at number 10 will mean Boris Johnson will jump down and come and drag Nnamdi Kanu out of court. It wouldn't. So is there any way we will begin to, maybe in Njenje media, how do we begin to change this narrative? How do we begin to make people to understand that that this thing can change? But if we continue on this path, I'm sorry, rather than get to where we want to go, it's like the goalposts will continue to shift against the Southeast. So I'm asking Elumba, Njenje Media, is there any way we can begin to change this narrative, please?
Let's allow Dr. Mefor to address this question. It's also going to show, is it possible for IPOB to change the narrative? Is it possible to convince them to, adopt some of the advices I know people like Dr. Mefor has been offering all this while, even Ms. Briggs and co. All your advices, is it possible to change them to accept some of your advice?
It is possible. Only a dead man cannot change his or her opinion. IPOB family must reevaluate their strategy. It's inevitable. That's number one. You see, they have the population. They have said that the political leadership is not right. They are sellout. They don't do this, they don't do that. What stops the IPOB family from contesting election and seizing the political space? They have the population. Their counterparts in Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon, are holding over 90% of the political offices there. And in the Southeast, the IPOB family cannot boast of one councillor. The issue is political. You cannot engage the international community if you cannot produce senators, House of Reps, governors. You must produce people who are recognized by your constitution. They just have to change this strategy. The only alternative open to the IPOB family other than political process is armed struggle, and they cannot, because they're not in a position to engage in armed struggle now. Let me tell you. See, let us call a spade a spade. Nigerian army, Nigerian military is the biggest in Africa. The biggest. IPOB family cannot engage the Nigerian army. It's not possible. That's a fact. They can go on and try it, but they will find that they are endangering not only themselves, but everybody else. And yet, there is a smoother and simpler process to achieving Biafra without bloodshed. I am asking the IPOB family to use their population, register now, as we speak, registration of voters is going on now in Nigeria. Their members are not registered. They are not ready to support anybody. Now that the chips are down, they can't do much. It's only Ejiofor and one or two others that are running around. When Nnamdi Kanu was in Kuje, how many of them had the guts to enter Kuje prison? It was still the same political class that they demonized today that went to Kuje and brought Nnamdi Kanu out. How many of them came to Kuje? I was in Kuje 5 times. How many of them came to Kuje? The records are there. Nnamdi Kanu came out. When Nnamdi Kanu was giving conditions for bail, how many of them is a Ositachidoke, a member of IPOB family? Is a engineer Abari, a member of IPOB family? These guys belong to the political class. And they were the people that make things happen. And they are the people you demonize. These are the same people you call names. It's the same Ekweremadu in whose parlor, sitting room, where all these things were planned and executed, that you tore his dress in Germany. And you believe you know what you're doing? Please, let's face reality. We can't engage in armed struggle. It is a political process. Even the Ambazonia that control, 90% of political positions in southern Cameroon, they still haven't gotten the independence. So it's a long process, very long process. We need to begin to engage. We must plead with our brothers in the IPOB family. Some of us can even join you and fight on your side. If you change your method, the method is not working. It's not taking us anywhere.
Dr. Mefor, thank you. We have only 11 minutes remaining. Oscar, please. Oscar, go quickly, 2 minutes, and then we take the others to 2 minutes.
My question is to Dr. Amadi. I want to remind him of the case of Augusto Pinochet. I just want to know what would be the difference between his case and that of Nnamdi Kanu having been kidnapped or extradited from Kenya. Because since Nigeria is a signatory to the Charter of African Charter, I expect that we should be able to be looking at that case where it is possible for Nnamdi Kanu to be extradited back to Kenya and be tried in Kenya and not in Nigeria. Thank you.
Dr. Amadi, do you have any response to this quickly before we move to the next question? Is Dr. Amadi able to unmute himself, please? Okay, let's take the next question. I will bear this one in mind. When it comes back, we will add it. Okay, Mbono, please. Mazi, okay. It's nice to see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. It's nice to see you, sir.
Oh, okay, nice to see you. Yeah. First of all, do you want him to finish or you want me to continue?
Dr. Amadi, let's add Okembonu to the, if you can. I know you noted the first question. Let's hear. Yeah, yes, please.
Okay. Yes. Well, it's been a great discussion tonight, and I can see that there are some very reasonable minds here. And the only thing that I want to do is sort of summarize some of the great points that I've heard tonight, which is that in 34 years of professional training and building a career in Washington, D.C., where everything is all about politics, I have never heard of a group trying to accomplish anything that doesn't open themselves up to collaboration by other groups, and rather isolates themselves by either branding other people that don't agree with them or people that have a contrary opinion. And that is the biggest problem that IPOB has. And perhaps this is an opportunity for when Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB eventually resolves this to hit a reset. Because if you're about to do a great thing, you must collaborate. You can actually even do a good thing by yourself, but you can't be great. But if you're about to do a great thing, such as either founding a nation or even restructuring Nigeria, you must learn to collaborate. The only time you do not collaborate is if you have overwhelming force against the other side, and you know that they're going to back down for you. Otherwise, you just be about running around in circles. But I'm very glad that I've heard from very reasonable speakers tonight, Dr. Mefor, Ms. Briggs, Dr. Amadi, that everything right now is skewed towards the fact that whatever happens going forward, IPOB leadership needs to learn the art of collaboration. There is no movement without it at this level. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mbono, now that you are here, before I go back to Dr. Amadi, before I let you go, I know that you are a Washington player. You organize a lot of activities with the US Congress, State Department, and so on. How do you see a lobby within the US establishment to kind of get some congressmen to intervene in issues of this matter? Is this something that, you know, Nigeria Igbo leadership can explore to hasten this political settlement we are talking about?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, this is a country whereby everybody gets an opportunity to say their piece, even when your piece is perhaps an unpopular piece, but you can still be able to present it. And the best way to present it, of course, is by investing in the lobbying and the persuasion aspect of whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. But there's a method to the madness. You know, the method is a process. It's a process. You engage and then you allow chance for things to build up momentum. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 24 hours.
Does it surprise you that IPOB has not even explored this channel all these years? They've been agitating for their position.
Yeah, well, that only actually made IPOB look a bit short-sighted, that they have not gone in that direction all these years. I thought it was about resources initially, but then I find that there's substantial resources that they raise from their following, but they have to learn how to invest these resources in something other than perhaps antagonizing people, because the world, in the way the world works is that you need to make friends that add to your strength. You cannot do certain things by yourself. There's some little things you can do by yourself, but to achieve great, impactful things, you need to make friends or buy your friends. However way you're gonna do it, you need to figure out a way to do it. But perhaps this might be an opportunity for a reset, like I said, and I'm expecting that hopefully this will be an opportunity to re-examine a whole lot of things as far as the approach, and perhaps find out things that are not just going to work now, but they have worked the same way for the past 5,000 years of human history. You need friends, you need collaboration. You can't do anything very big by yourself.
All right, well, thank you. Let's go to the Dr. Sam Amadi now to the question asked by, I think it was Oscar Ugo, isn't it? Dr. Amadi, do you still remember the question now? Dr. Amadi, please, are you still with us?
Yeah, so what's the question again, please?
I'm trying to recall it. Oscar.
Okay, no, it's about Pinochet.
Oh, yeah, the Pinochet, yeah, whether it is possible to get the African Union, African Court of Human Rights, or the Kenyan government to take Nnamdi Kanu back to Kenya and then try him there or something similar. What do you have to say?
Well, first, don't forget that the Pinochet's trial was a little bit about international law and crime against humanity.
Do we allow you do we allow you, Dr. Amadi, to settle down and then come back so that we can easily hear you?
No, I can talk to you now quickly before I enter the studio.
Okay.
So I said there's an element of international law, element of crime against humanity. So that affected that decision. This is purely domestic trial. Either it's discontinued or the government goes ahead. So I don't see the Pinochet team playing out because the offense involved is ordinary criminal offenses under Nigerian law, and highest is the treason and the terrorism act. So the Pinochet phenomenon is not going to be here because it's not in any way involving. The only international component of this is the fact that he's a British citizen, of course, and just citizen, and secondly, that he was kind of brought back to Nigeria without proper process. That's the only two aspects.
Okay.
And they don't bring that case within the purview of international crime. So I don't think the Pinochet will happen here.
All right, we thank you very much. We are coming to the end of this program. Let's quickly hear from Dr. Ankkio Brigs, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Elomba. I think we have a problem here. Part of the discussions have been based on the personality of Nnamdi Kanu and his trials. But if you look at the issue in question is the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu and securing peace in Southeast. We have not addressed this issue. And the issue is that, and when you're looking at it, you look at you look at it from three tangential points. Nnamdi Kanu, then you look at the security situation that brought about the Eastern Security Network, and then the connectivity of the people. We have not talked about because in actual sense, when the IPOB were carrying their agitation, people didn't take them serious until the invasion of the Fulani herdsmen. We have not looked at it. And it was in fact the invasion of Fulani herdsmen and the herdsmen that actually made the people to turn towards IPOB as the alternative means of securing their lives and property. Because of luxury of the traditional political, to look at these aspects. Southeast, the role of ESN with IPO, with Nnamdi Kanu incarcerated, let me say, the sentimental connectivity of the people to IPOB based on the need for them to secure their lives and property in the face of the rampaging violent actions of the Fulani herdsmen. These are the issues, not about trial of Nnamdi Kanu, not about linking United Nations or whatever. These are the major issues. And when you are looking at the security of the Southeast, also discuss it, you don't discuss it in isolation of the wider security of the Nigerian nation. Because the Southeast cannot be secured alone if other nations, other states are insecure. I want them to address this issue, which is very, very vital. And that should, is centered on it properly, not about none. The political leaders are disconnected from the masses. And that is why Nnamdi Kanu, even with his, his pattern of operation, his autocratic tendencies, and his lack of networking, still made him to be attracted to the people, and people attracted to him. So I want that to look at it very well. Thank you very much.
I thank you very much. Let me quickly say that at this point, the program is meant to last for 2 hours. So we'll quickly take all the questions and then please make it to 2 minutes so that we allow our guests to make their concluding comments and sum it up. Abenk, Stephen, please, quickly, 2 minutes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I would like to ask a question. We are talking about if anything happen, the Easterners will suffer or the Igbos will suffer. So in this point, I want to ask if there is no law to defend the properties of Nigerians, because we see that when something happens, maybe like when there's a referendum, maybe in UK, if anything happens, the businesses and the properties of those in Scotland will still remain. The businesses and the properties of Scottish people that is in London will still remain. And the same thing again in Europe. When Europe left EU, all the businesses of UK people and vice versa are still intact. So why is it that no one is addressing this issue, that if anything happens, that the people from one section of the country will be the one to lose the properties from where they were, normally staying? Is it that it's kind of a banana republic situation that we really don't have laws that to say, okay, if anything happens, you have your properties here, your properties will be protected, and maybe there will be an opportunity for one to have a second citizenship or something. I just want maybe Dr. Mefor and others to really address this issue and throw more light to this so that Nigerians will know. Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, thank you. John Azo, please, quickly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Hello, go ahead, Mr. Azo, please. Mr. John Azo, please unmute yourself.
Okay. So my question is on the security situation in the Southeast. Somebody, Dr. Nwezigwe, has mentioned the impact of the headers and their activities, which has led to the setting up of the ESN and whatever that has resulted to. My question now is, I listened to some of the presentations earlier in which the presenters were calling on the IPOB members to maybe go back to the streets. I think that's the allusion that they should demand his release. And even Dr. Amadi mentioned something like if there is bloodshed, then there could be global attention. I want to say that this suggestion should completely be discountenanced.
Let me quickly point out that I don't think it's the suggestion of Dr. Amadi and Dr. Mefor to do so. I think they were trying to answer a question of in what scenario would the international community likely intervene? So it's not as if they are calling on them to, well, okay. Yes, so go ahead.
Okay, so because if you look at the previous demonstrations in the Southeast from 2016 to 2020, we've seen the level of high-handedness which appear to have been used by the government, which of course also raised issues about maybe perhaps institutional culture or the standard operating procedures applied in the Southeast. A lot of people have raised that, which may have contributed to the toxic mood, or maybe which may have contributed to this sense of victimhood or exclusion, which may also have led to this resort to violence by the IPOB. So my question would be, some people have suggested, I don't know much about this, but they are saying to address any form of protests or demonstrations, that it would be better that the leadership of IPOB is quickly changed so that there will be no need, this trial can continue in peace while the other people will continue to do what they are doing without resorting to street protests, because it would appear that the cordiality that should exist between security agencies and the civilian populace is not really there now in the Southeast. So to allow people to protest will endanger a lot of people. If at all that could be contemplated, I think it should not be contemplated. I think that what should happen is that that idea of people should do something, IPOB should do something, I don't think they should do anything. Maybe Dr. Mefor could clarify further. I think what he has said, that this is the time for political leaders to continue. This is the stage. I don't think these people should be allowed to do anything for that. They've messed up whatever they are demanding for. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. The last question, Tango, please.
Thank you. I'm throwing everything, but the topic of this program was solution and what happened. But people are here pouring brain, talking down on IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, or anybody. Today victim may not be tomorrow victim. It has happened. Dr. Mefor was talking about some history gives, if you're incorrect, but he's saying armed struggle. Nobody is speaking armed struggle against the state. And Ojukwu mentioned that pick arms struggle. Ojukwu did not pick arms struggle. Ojukwu created a corridor and defend his people. So that teaching should stop. Ojukwu never pick arm against the state, but he created a corridor and defend his people. He said, if you want safety, come here. You shall be a witness. Ojukwu never pick arm against Nigerian state. Another point I have is, today is Nnamdi Kanu. I want to ask Uche Mefor, who is Nigerian Igbo political elect as of today? Because to my own understanding, after Mbakwe, former vice president, I forget, former vice president, the late
Alex Ekweme.
I don't think there's other political we see now. They are all political jobbers. How does Nnamdi Kanu came in? How does this security came in? Is it not failure of leadership? This want to talk to sense, not intimidation or putting fear into people. Putting fear into people. This is what Fulani capitalize on, to put fear on people, and now they're succeeding. And the Fulani is people that, if you study their history, they will never stop until you stop them. They fail in Gambia, fail everywhere. Even common Ghana, they couldn't find ground in Ghana. And they continue, we Igbos, to go to our problem direct. We are showing class. That's people they call commoners or nothing. That's why the Northerners are very intelligent. They respect their Adimajeli. Those people Adimajeli you see are their weapon. Instead of our politicians to run around with what we have, because when these people fall, they will fall on those ground, those idiots, those people they call idiots, they will fall on top of those idiots when they go after them. The Northerners protect their own. Now the Kanu is in trouble. What will we do as a family, as anybody that love people, is that to put pressure on Britain, come and save your citizens. Because what is happening, people don't see the light. The whole international secret service knows what happened, but people are afraid to say the truth. Don't tell nobody. International secret service know this deal, and the Kenya have done this thing before. You remember Osharan, Kurdish separatist leader. The same thing happened to Nnamdi Kanu. Osharan was about to arrest in England. They allowed him to go to Italy. From Italy, they tracked him to Kenya. The same way they pick Kanu, today the man is not out. Osharan, this is a pure story. So what I'm saying is that anybody come Nnamdi Kanu style, Nnamdi Kanu this, Nnamdi Kanu that, we are tired of it. If these people have a solution, let them come with a good roadmap. Then we go on with them. But blaming Nnamdi Kanu, blaming IPOB. Okay, you say IPOB have no vote, they have no card, and you don't groom them. You don't. Okay, what reason make IPOB believe in Nnamdi Kanu more than you people, you intellectual? Ask that question. Why IPOB? Why Nnamdi Kanu flows more than the so-called intellectual? Let me use little rough language. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We will not allow our guests to take these views into consideration and give us their concluding summation. Let's start with Ms. Ankkio Briggs, please. Ms. Briggs.
Yes, thank you. Looking at the issue on the table now, right now, is Nnamdi Kanu, and the method in which he was picked up, where he was picked up. Again, I repeat, and I said it right from the beginning, the question is, was it done legally? That is up to Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers to find out, up to Igbo to take responsibility for their son. Now, some of the issues that have arisen, nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. Nnamdi Kanu is not perfect. Some mistakes have been made. When you make mistakes, the steps have to be retraced. All of us are aggrieved by this Nigerian government. We in the Niger Delta, we've been at it for a very long time. Adaka Boro declared war before the before the war. Before Biafra, he declared war that lasted only 12 days. He didn't think he was going to win the war, but he did it because he had something to say. The Middle Belt people have suffered all their lives, I think, in the hands of the Fulanis. And it is just coming down this way. Now, we have to learn from the experience. We have issues. We have to very quickly resolve these issues. If we are going to survive, how are we going to survive? If we don't want to stay together as one people, how do we go about it? Our politicians have not done well, not just Southeast or Niger Delta or South-South. They have not done well. We're dealing with a set of people that have proven to be smart when it comes to politics, whether they are educated or not, you know. They've done better than we have done with all our education and all our money and all our wisdom in creating wealth. They have done far better than we have done. We've gone wrong somewhere, and we have to take responsibility and move forward and change the narrative. How do we change this narrative? Really, I've been on so many other platforms discussing Southeast issues. And I keep asking my people in the Niger Delta and in the Igbo, what is it that we want? What do we want? We seem to want 2, 3 different things at the same time. We have to bring all these wants together so that we can make a decision and move forward. Do we want to stay in one Nigeria? What are the terms? If we don't want to stay in one Nigeria, who are the people that don't want to stay? Allow them, let us allow ourselves to make our decision. But decision making, we must make a decision. Whether we like it or not, we must make a decision. Blaming each other, game blaming, this one, that one, is not going to work. If we've made mistakes, let us drop it, change the narrative, and take another path. The most important thing, as I round up, please, is that a hero is a hero, but I prefer a live hero any day. We must fight and stay alive and to see the benefit of the fight that we're fighting. You can't kill an idea, but it is better to stay alive with the idea than to die and then the idea lives on. We have to make changes and make them very quickly.
Thank you very much. It's Dr. Sam Amadi. I think he's got busy now.
I can see him, he's on a rise.
Oh, okay, yeah, I think so. Okay, Dr. Mefor, can we have your concluding thoughts on this topic, taking into consideration all that have been said?
Thank you, Dan. By way of concluding my intervention, somebody asked, are there no laws to protect our properties here in Nigeria if Nigeria divides? I think we need to understand something. We need to benefit from history. You know, peaceful dissolution of Nigeria is not the same thing as dissolving Nigeria by violence and war. The issue of abandoned properties in Port Harcourt, that is, even with our own blood cousins, is still there. It happened because of war. If you break up by war, my best bet is that you will not be able to recover your properties here unless themselves decide to give it back to you. That is war for you. And that is precisely why we are calling for political process, so that it's either we stay in Nigeria the way it will accommodate us, so that our stay here is guaranteed, not only our lives, also our properties. That's what we are talking about. The speaker talked about referendum. There is no referendum in Nigerian constitution. It will take a lot of political process to bring it in now. There's no referendum in the 1999 constitution. And there is no constituent assembly to give us a brand new constitution in the making. What you have now is what is going on in the National Assembly. And we need to also know that the National Assembly is not in a position to give Nigeria a brand new constitution. However, they can bring in referendum. We need to put pressure for them to enshrine referendum in the amended 1999 Constitution. That way, whatever we want can be subject to the plebiscite, the will of the people. This is exactly why we are saying that IPOB must be involved in the political process. That's it. He has come back to that same reality that unless we engage in the political process, if Nigeria breaks by violence and bloodbath, whatever you get, in fact, is it not when you're even alive, you talk about property? That's the problem here. Number two, you know, the last speaker said that Nnamdi Kanu filled the void. Sure, that's true now. But the question is, who created the void? Who made the current political leaders of the Southeast political leaders? Is it not by contesting in the election? That's a fact. And I have said that IPOB can engage and seize the political space in the Southeast. Incrementally, create one councillor, one local government chairman, one governor. From there, you are increasing. And they are sitting by and casting aspersion on those who took the chance to become political leaders. Who made them political leaders? You and I made them political leaders, including IPOB members, by not participating. They need to understand this. Now, they also, I have said that we need to prevail on the political leadership as obtains in the Southeast at the moment to rise and put whatever happened before behind them and intervene, because it's not just about the Nnamdi Kanu, now it's about us. We need to really, bridge the gap. In fact, there's an adage in my place that says that you send away the kite before you come home to advise the chicken. That is the truth. We need to really rise down and get this done. Those who believe that election cannot be won in Nigeria, they don't understand Nigeria's political process. They should go and ask Wike. They didn't want Wike to be governor. Wike won based on popular support. He claimed his mandate. They should go and ask Seriake Dixon. Seriake Dixon, they didn't want him to be governor. He won by popular support and the people defended the votes. They should go and ask Senator Ifeanyi Ubah. He won. They didn't want him. He won by popular support and he claimed his mandate. IPOB can hijack one political party and put their members in power. They have to do that. They have no choice. If they want to insist on armed struggle, my brother, there is no road there. You see, just 1 minute. You see, Ugochukwu, I think that is the name, Tango Ugochukwu, the one that spoke at the last, said Ojukwu did not involve in an armed struggle. That is wrong. Ojukwu involved in armed struggle. Let me tell you, what Ojukwu did not do, Ojukwu did not declare war. But when war started, Ojukwu had to struggle, Ojukwu had to fight. The history is there that Ojukwu had to bear arms. Ojukwu resisted. He resisted by arms. What else is armed struggle? Are we talking semantics here? I have fair understanding of English language. And they cannot tell me that resistance by arms is not armed struggle. I don't mind returning to school to be taught that. So you need to understand. Let them leave semantics out of this. Biafrans engaged in armed struggle between 1967 and 1970 and failed because we were not prepared. We had no arms. We had no money. That's the truth. And today, we have no arms. We have no preparations. We have no money. Those who have money in Biafra land are not likely to support the Biafra struggle by way of arms because their investments, 70% of their investments are outside Igbo land. And the only way they can safeguard their investments is through peaceful political process. So that even if Biafra succeeds, it has to be through peace, through politics, not through war. If you do it through war, they will lose everything. And even if they are not going to lose everything, even if they are going to get everything, they are under the impression that they will lose everything and they will never support you.
And until they come to the table, until they come to the party, you will never get this thing done through arms. I, for one, will never support arms because there are better civilized ways of doing this. That's the truth. Do you know how much they sell one jet fighter? You can Google it. $100 million. How many Igbos can support that? How many Igbos can donate jet fighters? Nigeria has 20-something. Do you know the number of armored tanks that will be involved in this? Do you think this is a war with an AK-47? I want IPOB family to understand what revolution means. They cannot engage in armed struggle. And by the way, I am not Uche Mefor. I am Dr. Law Mefor. If you want my Igbo name is Okuchukwu, Law Okuchukwu Mefor. Uche Mefor is my brother. I am not Uche. In fact, I told Uche, once you support armed struggle, I will get the family to disown you. And I'm happy Uche Mefor ran away from armed struggle. That's the truth. And I congratulate him for his courage to stand up to the group and say, no armed struggle. Now, the final advice to the IPOB and Biafra agitation family. Please put your hands together. Come down and connect with Ohaneze. You must connect with our governors. You must connect with the political leaders. You must get involved in politics. You must begin to create political office holders. Can you imagine a Senator Nnamdi Kanu? Can you imagine Governor Nnamdi Kanu? Can you imagine that? Do you know what that can do in National Assembly? Do you know what that can do in Abia State? Can't we think? Good night, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Love.
Before Dr. goes, I thought I had a question for him. Anwe Iago. I think he's gone for real.
The beginning.
No, he's still there. Anwe Iago, can you hear me?
He's there.
I think he's
okay, yeah.
Anwe Iago, thank you very much for your submission. But let me ask you this question. You know, I have always taken your position where you know, if you really want to change something, you get political, you get your hands dirty. And you know, once I say this, some, you know, people come back and, you know, and say, well, the only person we know is Abaribe. And I have this question. How did Abaribe emerge? If you so much like Abaribe, and someone is saying, replicate more of Abaribe, and you say, no, you don't want, you want not to get involved. But the question then I have for you is, if someone pushes back and say, Mazi, now, if we get involved, let's say they got involved in Imo State, and they got a situation where someone who was fought in position suddenly became the governor of that state, how do you deal with such?
It's very simple. Very, very simple. Let me tell you, you cannot rig election where you are not popular. You see, people are allowed into political positions two ways: through acquiescence or through direct voting. If somebody you didn't vote takes up the mandate you didn't give him, you resist it. I still believe that, look, what happened in Imo State, you know, it may not be popular, but the other side, the head you have side and the others who came first, second, and third, were guilty of the same offense to degrees. And that is why their supporters couldn't really rise. If 70% of Imolites want Ihedioha to be governor, he will be governor of Imo State in less than 3 months from today. But the fact remains that, look, they all rigged. They all wrote results. We followed the election in Imo. So even Ihedioha is not too comfortable, too confident, claiming the mandate. That's the truth. But I tell you, why didn't they try it in Rivers with Wike 2 times? Why didn't they try it with Serieka Dixon in Bayelsa 2 times? Why did they not try it with Ifeanyi Ubah during his senatorial election in Anambra South? These are people that emerged through popular votes of the people. Nobody could take it away from them. That is the precise position I'm trying to canvass, which IPOB family must understand. They must deploy their population to, in fact, move to a place like Anambra now, and they insist that you will produce a governor. Put a governor in Anambra State. It is possible, it's doable, if indeed they have the population they claim they do. If they cannot produce a governor against the decision of Anambra political elites and against the decision of the Riggers, INEC, and whoever, they don't have the population. That's the simple truth. If they have the population, I will give them the formula of how to create councillors, senators, honorable members, governors, and so on and so forth. Even the president of Nigeria can be produced if they are really ready to participate politically. They should stop shying away. You need to look, power is taken, it's not given. They need to understand the dynamics of power. They cannot stand aside and promoting insecurity in the Southeast and insisting on sovereign state of Biafra when they don't have referendum in the constitution. They don't, apart from Abaribe. Look, Abaribe is just one person in the Senate. Who else is speaking on behalf of Biafra agitators in National Assembly? Not one person, not one. He's just one person. So supposing you have out of 15 senators from the Southeast in the Senate, 5 of them are pro-Biafra. Do you know what that means? Out of over 50 you have in the House of Reps, 10 of them are pro-Biafra. Do you know what that means? That's the point I'm making. Because they can't get this into the way of arms. That is a no-no. It's not possible. Look, Biafra is possible, but with arms, it can only get delayed. Just like Nnamdi Kanu just played into their hands. Did you read the text delivered to the press by the Attorney General of the Federation? He just gave reasons why they rearrested him, or better put, abducted him. The reasons he gave border on promotion of violence, death, passing. You see that? What that means is that they wouldn't have had any good reason to go for his arrest or abduction if this narration of ordering for deaths, arson, and killing and all that didn't arise. So my final submission, my brother, is okay. Let us return to the drawing board. Things have gone really awry, but like we will say in Nigeria, nothing spoiled. We can still get it right.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mefor. I think this is the much we can take. If Ms. Briggs, do you want to say anything? You suddenly, your body language seems to suggest you want to say something.
No, just to wish everybody well and hope that at the end of the day, we will think the right thoughts for ourselves. Definitely, we are in a position and in a situation that is not working for us. And I keep emphasizing, even to my people here in the Niger Delta region, that unity is the key. If we don't unite as a people here in the Niger Delta, there's many of us, we can't move forward. And I think that really applies to everybody, despite political party affiliations. What we're going through today in Nigeria has absolutely nothing to do with politics. We are under a government that did not come in with any political ideologies or ideology. They came in with a sole purpose to conquer and rule. We're seeing it now absolutely very clearly. And it has been a long time plan. It didn't develop today. It's just that we didn't see it. And when I say we, I mean the electorate didn't see it. The politicians actually are blinded by their own ambition and their own greed for power, that they didn't contemplate it at all. And it's coming as a surprise to the politicians. And it's never too late. I believe that if we work together, we still have an opportunity to salvage ourselves. But if we refuse to work together and continue to think that our way is the only way or the best way, they will actually get what they want. This PIB bill is not a bill that was set up for people who don't produce oil. It's about people that produce oil. But today, the PIB bill has become a Nigerian bill to the extent that people in the north have now become, by law, oil producing simply because they have a refinery in their state, and what they are refining is coming from the Niger Delta. But because they have a pipeline going from the Niger Delta to their refinery, they've now been identified as oil producing. So it is our responsibility to take responsibility for the future of our children. Some of us here will be able to move at a moment's notice if our lives are at stake. Some of us here are very far away from what is unfolding in Nigeria. And most of us in Nigeria will not be able to get out of Nigeria when what is about to happen implodes, if we really don't take responsibility and face the facts and begin to do what is right for us. If we can't live together, we must live apart. If a marriage is not working, for crying out loud, I mean, people get to walk away. I've done it. Thank you very much.
We thank you very much, Ms. Ankkio Briggs, for being with us for the more than 2 hours now. We are happy to have you in our midst tonight. We say once again, we thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And Dr. Mefor, I admire your passionate presentation. Thank you very much for spending about 2.5 hours with us.
Thank you for hosting us. Thank you, Dan and company.
And we thank you, all of you. Before you go, in the next 15 minutes, I will ask a question, but our guests are free to leave, but if you stay, we'll be happy. We thank you very much. That section of the program is ended. My next question is, we have been having this program, even since last year, Governance Index in the Media and Television. We have had a lot of things about the lack of cooperation between the Middle Belt, the South. We started CESNET to encourage cooperation between the Southeast and South-South. But what has developed from all these discussions we've been having since COVID-19 is that the Southeast and South-South cannot really achieve what their agenda in Nigeria without the cooperation of the Middle Belt. I think what the election of President Muhammadu Buhari with the cooperation of the Southwest have kind of brought into the open is that the Southeast seems to be a minority, and that the president can imagine Nigeria without any vote from the Southeast at all. So I think, are the Igbo politicians actually realizing this? And the question my Southern Kaduna friends and Middle Belt friends have been asking in this forum is, what has prevented Southeast politicians from reaching out to the Middle Belt people, seeing that they have a culture that should actually bind them together, which is Christianity? So why have they not exploited that bond, that link, to create a political coalition that will allow them to seize power at the center? I would like to welcome 2-minute presentation on this subject, because what is envisaged is that it may lead to something that may in fact change the narrative of the politics in the Southeast. Anybody has anything to say on this 2 minutes, please?
Yeah, I want to, let me quickly intervene on this.
Yes.
You see, I think I spot two fallacies on this. One, yes, the president of Nigeria can emerge without a vote from the Southeast, but not just the Southeast alone. The president of Nigeria will emerge by intervention of 4 regions, not 6 or even 5. because you are talking about 24 states here. That is what the Constitution says. 24 states that the president must score 1/4 of votes and then score a single majority. That's the constitutional provision. So it's not only the Southeast that may not contribute vote for the president to emerge. We saw it in the election of Obasanjo. The Southwest didn't vote for him.
But he got Obasanjo got a sizable number of votes from the Southwest.
He didn't in 1999. Go and check record.
I get sizable, not he gets a sizable.
It was not sizable in 19. Yes, it was not sizable in 1999. It was sizable in 2003. Yes, I agree, but certainly not in 1999. Olufalaye had it. We can go and check the records. Obasanjo did not even win his own local government, his own ward. In 1999, go and check records. So, that said, you see, I think the main observation you made is lack of cooperation between the Middle Belt and the Southeast. But I don't think it's the Middle Belt and the Southeast. It has to do with the Middle Belt and the South part of Nigeria, not just the Southeast. And again, I think the problem is on two levels. One, it won't be correct to say that the South, that the Middle Belt is a Christian zone. I don't think so, because if you consider Kwara Middle Belt, it's not Christian. If you consider Kogi Middle Belt, it's not Christian. Even Plateau is almost 40-something% Muslim. You go to Niger. If you call Niger Middle Belt, it's not Christian. It's up to 70% Muslim. For me, Middle Belt. Let me
point out. I think Pam Miat is here from. I have hosted several discussions about it on the definition of Middle Belt, and what most of them have told me, including Sokapu president, other people from the Middle Belt region, have actually defined Middle Belt as. They have said we should try to separate the idea of North Central region from Middle Belt. That Middle Belt does not necessarily equate with North Central region. I don't know if you look at it that way, then you understand what I mean by
good. Now, in that case, you are talking about states like Taraba being part of it, isn't it?
Exactly. That is the
You're talking about Taraba, Southern Kaduna.
The Christian minorities state Yobe, Taraba, exactly. Yeah.
Good. Now, you see, that is where the problem is. And if you recall what Lady Ankkio Briggs was trying to identify, look, the fact is what we're dealing with now is zones. What they call the Middle Belt now, it's not what the zonal arrangement in Nigeria really typifies, because Taraba is in the northeast. That's a problem. So if they want to begin to work according to that trajectory, that will be fine, but it remains to be seen. What I'm trying to say is that religion has not allowed them to really express themselves. That's number one. And number two, the Hausa Fulani oligarchy seems to have overshadowed them. Whether they like it or not, they are ambivalent. They are like bats. They are neither, here nor there. The chairman of Ariwa Consultative Forum is Chief Innocent Audogbe. Am I right? He is from Benue, but he's the chairman of Ariwa Consultative Forum. Before him, you had Paul Unongo. Before him, you had Sonda Awoniyi. Sonda Awoniyi. So they have often cleverly allowed them, give them the position, the front seat to appear to be in charge. That way, their attention is taken away from where their destiny really lies. They don't want to face reality. As far as I am concerned, no Benue person under what is going on now should accept the chairmanship of Ariwa Consultative Forum. But Aurobe is the chairman. That's the truth. Which is contradicting the position of somebody like Samuel Otom. So we have a problem there. We have a problem there. Beyond all this, we are talking about Middle Belt. Do you really have political South Nigeria? You don't have that. The South and the Southeast, are they really working together? They are not working together. Look, let me tell you.
Dr. Mefor, so let me ask you this question because we don't have much time for this section.
Yes.
So what do you think it should be between now and the 2023? I know you are a very strong proponent of is it Igbo presidency or now Southeast presidency? Stand debated which one.
Nigeria president of Southeast Igbo extraction.
Oh, okay. Now, if that is not feasible, what should the Igbo go for between now and 2023?
You see, for me, I don't see what will make it feasible unless the Southeast political gladiators and presidential hopefuls do not want to go for it. For now, what I say is that those we expect should be our first 11 that should be put forth, thrust forth to go for us for the #1 seat in the country. None of them is showing any interest. For reasons.
So what is the plan B? What is the plan B?
That's what I want to give you now. You see, those we believe are qualified to go for this, they are positioning themselves for the office of vice president. I am not going to campaign for vice president. If they do not want to go for it, my brother, Dr. Mefor, will look for a non-Igbo person that will protect Igbo interests.
Like who?
I don't care.